Since both the Siege Time Terminators and the alphalegion Terminators from JOYTOY are based on a new body type, I'm curious about how they compare to each other. In future videos we'll take a look at the other alphalegion figures and my custom Iron Warriors, since JOYTOY has not been generous with the 4th Legion. So if you're interested too, let's take a look at them together. Generally, there is not much to say for Terminator figures, but the Siege Tyrant on the left has a nice carry effect for the missile launcher, while the Alpha Terminator has a conversion beam cannon, and both are new entries for this lineup. In a pure alphabetical order, we will look at an Alpha Terminator. First impression is great, love the paint and the overall menacing look. He has broad shoulder pauldrons typical of this design, and the leather strips have now highlights even. Shoulder articulation has not changed, so it is excellent. No problems with the abs crunch either. The new body type has a large abdomen, which addresses one of my complaints of the Cataphractii design so far, the wasp-like abdomen. The movement feels very smooth. I hope this won't become wobbly with time, but this so far has not had any issues. Legs, like all Cataphractii, move great in both directions, back and forward, even to some ridiculous levels. These bulky Terminators move like ninja compared to how the latest Space Marine 2 figures move. I'm not going to post them as circus acrobats, but it makes me think. And I like that these now new Terminators have all leather strips as individual strips near the pauldrons, so they look like less as a single solid block when moving the arms around. The first striking feature for sure is the metallic paint, which looks great, and the second is the sculpt, which has a lot of scales and details. They are combined in a resulting look, which is one of the best I have ever seen in this class of figures. The helmeted head is the only option, and it is also unique and lovely in its design. These Alpha Terminators have a great look indeed, and they make the Iron Warrior Terminators look like chipped-in men. Fortunately, we have other many details to show off, like the hazard stripes and the skull-faced helmet, which is unique for Iron Warriors. But engineering-wise, they follow the same exact design we have just seen, and they have even spot some improvements. Now the leather strips, for example, are all individual pieces, which makes some poses look less silly. Everything else looks more or less on the same design as the Alpha Terminator, but a bit simpler, like for example, no scale, no details, it is just plain metal armor. But who needs to look like a snake when you have so many rivets to show? And that huge rocket launcher on top. Because this is the main feature of these Iron Warriors Terminators. Pure and practical attritional warfare, no room for fancy details. And the other Terminator, named Siege Master, is essentially the same design, but with many other details changing, if you can spot them. For sure, the position of the hazard stripes and the robotic right hand, and the additional sensors on the rocket launcher. They look quite nice, and feel more solid than Alpha Terminators in hands. For posterity, let's take a look instead at the other Alpha Terminator, who is essentially the twin sibling, with the only difference being the convention beam gun, which makes its appearance for the first time among the JOYTOY figures, at least as far as I can tell. It is the same armor design, with lovely alphalegion Hydra logo and the scales all around. The same metal paint, the same gold paint, and that badass helmet, which is, no matter what, always looking great. Quick look at the weapons, and we have this great looking power axe with its sleek blade design. And both Alpha Terminators are provided with the same exact axe. I can't spot any difference here. And on the other side, we have Iron Warriors with a classical stone bolter from Horus Heresy era, and a power fist. 2 fist walls to oblivion, I guess. Nothing that will make you scream, for sure. Time to assemble them all together and do some more comparisons. I'm not sure which one to pick as a favorite, since they are both very unique designs by their own, while representing the different look of their legions. Iron Warrior's practical brutality is characterized by a Cataphractii Terminator armed to the teeth, while I never stop wondering why subterfuge and direct force like alphalegion has Terminators at all. In the end, these are heavily armored giants for assaulting heavily fortified enemies, so I feel that to be a bit odd. I can't complain about their look though, the best looking Terminators in the Horus Heresy lineup for sure. But I think that Siege Terminators better capture the spirit of their legion to break fortresses one after the other. Let's do some comparisons, and for sure these are big boys. We are talking about between 15 and 17 centimeters tall figures, depending on you considering the armored hood only, or also the rocket launcher. The new Cataphractii also looks to be in line with the previous starter's powerarmor, here represented by my custom Terminator, which I will show in a future video. Then we bring in a Sekhmet Terminator that is an old design, definitely shorter, with a thinner abdomen, but still looking great, even if I would have preferred it to have the same kind of painting quality as the alphalegion. And this is particularly evident with the thin abdomen if we bring the vargils in, which are quite tall compared to the previous ones, but they spot the typical wasp-like midsection that I personally don't like. Havarl in his Tartarus Terminator armor is also quite tall, but he has not that huge rocket launcher to add to its massive bulk. And also the Indomitus pattern used for 40k Terminators must give away to the Cataphractii Design 2.0, even if slightly. And since we are talking about rocket launchers, I will dust off my upgraded Ultramarines Terminator with the Cyclone missile launcher. Now it seems that we have finally re-established some balance in the force. I would love to see more Terminators having heavy weapons and shoulder-mounted weapons. I think they add a lot of charisma to this kind of power armor, which is otherwise often reduced to melee weapons and storm bolters. Also, I would have liked to see an open power fist as an option. Closed fist is my favorite, but I will have to have some variety. Time to wrap this review up, and this new Cataphractii design is quite nice. I particularly like the larger midsection, which makes their presence felt on the shelves. I'm not a big fan of the raised armored hood though. I would have preferred they kept it in line with the pauldrons, like the previous models. The legs are very similar, but the thigh now seems to be slightly thicker, which was also one of my complaints with the previous design. Their hip armor instead is still too low, creating that front black gap that looks ugly, but it is also partially hidden by the tabards. I'm sad JOYTOY did not release more variations of the Ironwarriors Terminators or even headquarters figures. I had to compensate myself, and I will make a dedicated video about the topic in the future. Anyway, they capture the look of their legions nicely, being really different in look even if they're sharing common roots in their armor design. Personally, I'm a fan of heavily armored units, so my preference goes to the Ironwarriors. They are big and bulky, but probably they are too polished. I would have preferred them to have some more weathering and inking, but let's say that they are coming directly from the battleship, and they need to still engage the enemy on dirt battlefield. Alphalegions look great armor-wise, but they are a bit lacking in terms of weapons. They don't have the same intimidation factors as the Siege Tyrant Terminators. So, in the end, which one to pick? It really depends on your personal tastes. Let me know which one you prefer in the comment section below. But having said that, I wish you a nice rest of the day wondering where and how to place these guys on your shelves.